This ASMR YouTuber made a visual novel, and it's not quite what it seems. Today, we're gonna be reviewing it. Lucky me. For some reason, I always get drawn into reading visual novels created by or about YouTubers, usually VTubers, and they're nice and friendly and sweet and happy. This one in particular is made by Radish ASMR, a perfectly normal, relaxing ASMR channel, as you can see. And I'm not gonna hide the open secret. This is a surreal horror game akin to Doki Doki Literature Club. I will have spoilers for the beginning of the story, but nothing after the inciting incident. And I do this in hopes you give this a try after this video, because this game has not got the recognition it deserves. So let's jump straight in and hate our lives. My name is Bruce. This game's gonna scare the crap out of me. And welcome to Kimochii Classroom. Part 1, The Humble Beginnings. Simon is just your ordinary second-year high school student, living his best life with his friends and family. Simon isn't the smartest kid in class, a bit dunderheaded at times with his actions, but his heart is in the right place. His sister Chico, a passionate, energetic lover of music, makes him breakfast every day as they revel in their sibling bond and head out to school together. She also seriously loves idols, and she will have you know it. Going to school, Simon meets with his best friend Annabelle, a cheeky, outgoing girl who is pretty much glued to his hip. She always helps Simon study and keep him from failing his classes, most notably math. Rarely, he'll also see Felicia, the intelligent heiress to the Arison Corporation with an ice-cold personality. They've never interacted, but sooner rather than later, she'll come on to Simon's radar. After school, Simon heads to his part-time job. He works to secretly support Chico's light music club from behind the scenes as a server at a bar. His coworker is Mayuka, a mature and convivial woman who is not afraid to quip with Simon. Along with a kind and understanding boss, Simon is quite happy with his job. Usually finishing late in the evening, he comes home to a skillfully prepared dinner made by Chico, and this finishes his day-to-day life cycle. And they all lived happily ever after. You fucking wish, buddy. Part 2. The humble, oh please God, no. On a normal day like any other, Simon's walking to school and notices Felicia looking bemused. Following her gaze, he notices a school bag on the tree, and putting 2 and 2 together, he climbs up and grabs it for Felicia, who promptly accepts it and walks away, not saying a word to Simon at any point in this exchange, the man in question shrugging it off. Though later at school he learns that Felicia is missing something important. In the evening, as Simon is working at his part-time job, taking orders from a couple of delinquents, he realizes they were the ones who threw Felicia's bag in the tree, not to mention the fact that they have her missing object, which looked to be a charm. With a bit of fandangling and roughhousing a la the help of Mayuka and his boss, Simon successfully retrieves the charm, which, to be honest, good for him, considering the stuck-up owner of the object who already snubbed his kindness once. Simon gets home, accidentally dropping Felicia's charm and revealing a secret panel, exposing a wheel which, after he fidgets with it for a bit, he unlocks a USB connector. Despite an uneasy feeling, he puts it into his computer and finds that'll be a secret. Not only is it a choice whether or not to look, but it clues you in to the underlying mystery aspects of the novel that come together by the end. This is a review, not a summary. But things happen, time passes, play the game. Simon confides in Annabelle, letting her know that he has found Felicia's charm. One thing leads to another, she accidentally lets it slip in front of Felicia, and Felicia herself approaches Simon in a dark alleyway. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just a guy who plays free visual novels on Steam. I don't know any radishes that do ASMR, and certainly not Yandere ASMR. So when this fucking happens, yep, no, fucking out, bro, not today. Because I'm assuming her problem is not that she didn't get the Happy Meal toy that she wanted. I was playing this at 2 a.m. So naturally, I said to myself, motherfucker, got up, turned on the light, and left the room. not returning until Daybreak. Part 3 Daybreak. I love how in the trailer it asks, who will you meet first? Apparently the fucking Grim Reaper. Spoiler alert, she doesn't kill Simone. Because if she did, I would have been happy to know that's the end of it. Luckily, Kimochii Classroom goes right back into being that happy slice of life game you know and love. With one major difference. Felicia is no longer a stuck-up bitch, which is kinda scarier than if she still was. The clock went cuckoo and now Felicia is a friendly, outgoing girl. And that brings us to the end of the inciting incident of this plot. Where it goes from there is up to you to find out, but is it worth finding out? That is what the rest of this video hopes to tell you. As you may be able to guess, this visual novel takes a lot of inspiration from Doki Doki Literature Club. Many visual novels in recent years have tried and failed to recapture the lightning in the bottle that was DDLC. And whilst they nonetheless found decent success despite that, does Kimochii Classroom finally achieve the impossible? Let's find out. Part 4, the review, featuring math. Kimochii Classroom really sells Simone's life by going through it one step at a time. Simone wakes up, has breakfast with Chico, goes to school and hangs out with Annabelle and Felicia, goes to work and chats with his coworker Mayuka, and then returns back home after a shift well done. While formulaic, it gives a sense of consistency to his life, which I totally respect because I have no consistency in mine whatsoever. This can be repetitive, but with time skips here and there, it doesn't become a nuisance. Due to this, the novel builds a lot of characterization. You feel attached to Simone's world, his sister Chico, his friend Annabelle, and the voice acting for the characters certainly helps with that. That being said, some of the scenes kind of drag on. Scenes like learning math with Annabelle or watching an Idol Magical Girl anime with Chico. The Idol scene sticks out to me in particular because it goes on for quite a while, showing Chico's passion for idols, admittedly with a beautiful CG, but at the same time, it's hard to make a reader care about a fictional show inside a fictional game.
Kira and her friends finally found the legendary purple song shard, a relic that they weren't even sure existed.
That's cool.
This was something talked about as early as the second season, so them finding it was a huge surprise.
Incredible.
But when they found the song shard, they were given a
Can you just shut up already? This scene sets up Chico's admiration of idols and her dreams to be one. And it's enduring, sure, but it could have been easily half the length, especially considering it's not the first or the last time we'll be hearing about her idol obsession. And I'm saying this with Chico being my favorite character. Little sisters for the win. All this to say, the pacing is very slow. Not a bad thing per se, but it's something you will definitely feel. But if you thought the horror was over, you'd be a fool. Math. Seriously, I stared blankly at my screen for like 30 seconds when a math test appeared, and I actually had to do it. This is a payoff to the earlier scene where Annabelle teaches you math, though luckily this math is simple, so I'm hoping it's not a visual novel that teaches you it. Stay in school, kids. Choices in this game matter, some more than others. Several can affect the endings and unlock different scenes, so I highly recommend you explore your options. I will avoid talking about the specifics of the endings themselves, but I will say the choices that do matter are pretty obvious. With the pacing being so slow and focus on characterization, Kimochii Classroom goes all in, using its characters to build up a satisfying ending for the reader. And for a shorter visual novel like this, that can be a big risk. Does it succeed? The answer is mostly. With one of the best confession scenes I've seen in a visual novel, and some, let's call them extended emotional moments, you'll be feeling your heart go doki doki by the end of this novel. The ending itself leaves something to be desired, however. I mentioned earlier the USB with information that connects with the mystery subplot of this visual novel, and more hints are dropped after that to connect the truth. But a lot of things are left unresolved. In fact, I kept looking for a true end despite having read all the content in the game. I think Kimochii Classroom would have benefited from some way to let the players know they are done, like the Steam achievement system, because the conclusion feels like reading a novel with its last chapter torn out. If that was the artistic vision, that's fine, but I can't say it makes the slow buildup of the characters completely satisfying. The notebook on the main menu screen is technically the clue in to your progress. It's just not a very obvious one. If that shit ain't blank, you ain't done. I say this because Kimochii Classroom is essentially separated into 4 parts, of which I'll dub before the credits, after the credits, red tab, and black box. The latter 2 being short scenes concluding the game. Kimochii Classroom's story is a mixed bag. It's very slow to start and stumbles on its feet at the end. But that point, that 40-50% of the way into 90% point, that's where it shines. After going back and forth, I'm going to give the story and writing a 7 out of 10. I briefly mentioned how the voice acting makes you feel attached to the characters, and I can't emphasize how much that holds true for Kimochii Classroom. I was originally going to give the story and writing closer to a 6, but it seems like creating natural conversation is difficult for scriptwriters, and it was done well here, bumping it up to a 7. It really does help a lot. But where I'm going with this, the writing and voice acting, when both done well, accentuate each other. Chico's upbeat attitude, Mayuka's smug quips, the screams of terror that definitely don't happen, all make you feel connected to the experience that is Kimochii Classroom. The voice acting is up there with some of the best, and I mean it. As for the music in the game, it is also quite well done. The BGMs are nice, but where it really shines are in the special event moments where the music is made for that scene, such as when you go to a concert with Chico, because it makes those moments especially memorable. It really is way better than it has any right to be. The sound design in general is well done. There are plenty of sound effects used, adding just a bit more color to the world. The visual novel isn't afraid to use silence, which I always appreciate because sometimes the best soundtrack is no soundtrack at all. Horror games adhere to this a lot more often, obviously, but it's something in general I wish developers would think about more. The last notable thing is that the music actually rises in volume in one pivotal scene and really accentuates the moment. This would probably piss some people off, but I thought it was pretty cool, so props there. I give the sound a 9 out of 10. Half a point off because the side characters aren't voiced, which is probably a funding issue and more of a personal nitpick. And another half point off because when I think of a visual novel, I think of some specific soundtrack or song to associate it with, and here, while the music is great, I can't really do that for Kimochii Classroom. There is a reason why an alternate term for visual novels can be sound novel. The visuals look crisp. There are plenty of sprites for the characters that need them. The CGs in particular stick out to me as being really well done, and they typically have a lot of minor variations to them, adding interactivity to the scene. One CG in particular sticks out to me at the end of the game because it's fucking cursed, and I hated to see it, and I'll hate to see it in my nightmares, but it's a good CG. And I do appreciate good backgrounds, of which you can clearly see this has. The UI is also thematic, being notebook themed, which I thought was neat. I'm gonna give the visuals a 9 as well, if only because I thought there could have been more potential in their usage near the end of the game, but for a short, free visual novel, you couldn't ask for much better. It's really unfortunate there is no extras option in the main menu to look back on CGs and the music in the game, because I would have loved to look back on those and re-listen to some of the music. In certain scenes, the novel forces you into an auto mode, frustrating for skipping through the game, but also properly used for dramatic effect. I do not like losing control in a horror game, even if all I'm doing is clicking. It scares me. And maybe besides on making it a little more obvious on what to do after you finish an ending, that's all I have to say. Kimochii Classroom is a good visual novel. I'd even say it's a great visual novel. For a game that literally only had $8,000 in funding, I can't believe how good it is. We need more Radishes that make visual novels apparently. Maybe not horror ones, because I hate that shit, but you know what I mean. Overall, for me, it's an 8 out of 10. And for reference, the highest I've ever rated a non-Japanese visual novel is 8 out of 10. Kimochii Classroom is a well-packaged experience, and it does a lot of things really well. I fear it may lose people reading it due to its slow nature, and may gain people's displeasure from an abrupt ending, but when it runs, it sprints, and you very rarely see something like this come together so well in a non-Japanese visual novel. I truly hope more people give this a try, and if you've already played the game, let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.